We are on the air.
Yay!
Yay! So hi guys, I'm Mercedes.
And I'm Shannon.
And
Yay!
yay, we're excited to see you guys today. So I'm so excited to be on a hangout with Shannon because we were trying to do this last week, and I'm really happy. Thank you everyone for bearing with me. I'm such a pain in the ass. For my schedule's a nightmare. So
And you would know about pain in the ass.
I would.
I'm sorry I had to. It was right there.
No, it's perfect. It's so great. It's true. And actually, you know what? I'm doing my first contracted anal scene in the next couple weeks. I've got a contract on that. So
Okay, how do you psych yourself up for that?
well, I like
the only time I'm able to even do that is if I have Percocet in my system. And then I'm like, yeah, let's do it. It's good.
Yeah, it's funny that's true actually, because in regular life, I guess alcohol helps or whatever. But for me, it's just practice.
It's not so much a pain thing with me. It's just when I'm on Percocet, it's like I don't care. I don't fucking care about anything.
Sure, stick it in my butt.
I just get weird. I'm like, yeah, totally. Let's do that. It's cool.
It's hilarious.
What, you want to bring the cat in here? Nah, let's not. Maybe. Nah.
We're not going to take it that far.
No. Although our cat is really creepy and like jump up on the bed because my cat is in love with my husband.
Oh.
And will get jealous of me being around him. He'll glare at me constantly. It's really bad. He's such an asshole. It's I should have never rescued that damn cat. I was the one that found him on the street, and my husband's like, no, let's not bring him in. I'm like, but he's so cute. Brought him inside. Fucking hates me. Oh well. I tried.
I'm allergic to cats. So.
Really? Oh, that sucks. Cats are fun.
I like them. I like their temperaments and their personalities, but I can't have them around.
Oh gosh, yeah. I have God, we have a fucking menagerie. We have 3 cats, a little chihuahua, and 2 rabbits. So.
Oh wow. It's like a farm.
Yeah. Yeah, the rabbit, only the 2 rabbits and the cat are me and my husband's though.
Oh, got it.
So, but yeah.
Well, that's awesome. It's funny because I would love to have more animals. I have this weird dream of I'm gonna retire from porn and then go have a farm with goats and chickens.
Okay, then you should totally move to Ohio and live down the street from me and have a farm with goats and chickens and shit.
Totally. I would love to do that but then I really think about it, and then I think, well, I would do that for a week.
Right, and then you'd be like, okay, seriously, who's gonna do something about the damn goats?
The goats just ate my porno clothes. What do I do?
Where's my vibrator? Damn it!
And the goat's like,
you hear the goat vibrate by.
I know. Oh man.
This is officially a weird live stream.
You know what? We're just gonna hang out and talk, and you guys can just watch us and ask questions. Somebody asked if anal sex is the patriarchy. You know what? That's an interesting point. Why would it be the patriarchy, though? I'm confused.
Anal sex is the patriarchy?
He asked if anal sex is the patriarchy. NMLSS.
I don't know.
I mean, it's the dominance of butt sex is the patriarchy.
Wow.
I don't know. It's a random question. Okay, well, we should probably talk about relevant topics because I think people want to hear us talk about relevant topics. So I actually wanted to ask you on live stream how you got involved in Gamergate and because you've been doing streams for a while. You've been doing
Well, I've been doing vlogs. This is actually my first actual stream.
got it. Okay. So you've been doing videos for a while.
Yeah. And actually I had to go through and delete a bunch of them because I was working with this guy that he was one of my husband's friends who was just a complete asshole. And I had a falling out with him because he decided to go on a tirade and like flip out on me and my husband and like call us horrible people and
Oh,
your kids are gonna have horrible lives and shit. So I had to go through and delete all those videos because I don't want him to be like, well, you're making money off my likeness. So I lost like 6 or 7 of my videos.
uh,
But no, I kind of went over this in one of my vlogs, but the way I got into this was I got really into politics
mm,
in 2012, when we were gearing up for the election and everything.
yeah.
And I heard about this thing uh, that happened called Operation Fast and Furious,
Okay.
which basically what happened was it was a gun walking thing, which they'd done before in the Bush administration under the name Operation Wide Receiver, but it was more successful because they actually put trackers in the guns that they sold to the Mexican drug cartels because they were trying to see where they went and track down the Mexican drug cartels.
Uh-huh.
And they were working in conjunction with the Mexican government and the Mexican police. Well, Operation Fast and Furious, they tried to do the same thing without the Mexican support and lost track of all the guns. And I think it was like 2,000 guns.
Wow.
And I think last I checked, at least 200 Mexican people were killed with the guns. And 2 of our people, one of them was a Border Patrol agent, got killed with one of the guns. His name was Brian Terry. And when I saw that, I was just like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
So I started a Facebook page called Justice for Border Patrol Agent Brian A. Terry. And then I found a page called the Brian Terry Foundation that was started by his family. And I didn't want to be disrespectful or anything like that. So, or take away anything from what they were doing. So I changed the name to Liberal Lunacy because I thought it was a great alliteration.
Yeah.
And people think I'm like a right-wing crazy person, but the reason I did it was most of the people I was dealing with and that were, trolling me and giving me shit were self-identifying as liberals. And what I've come to figure out since then is they were social justice warriors.
Mm.
And I thought the two were kind of interchangeable, but what I've really figured out is, some of my best friends are liberals. One of them is a 60-year-old sociology and cultural anthropology professor, and she's just the absolute shit. And she was like a radical back in the 70s and everything. And what we figured out is at the same age as just different times we're both fighting the man.
Totally.
So, but that's how I got involved, and I did my page for 3 years. It was pretty successful for a while until Facebook changed their algorithms and now want page owners to pay
Mm.
for people to see your posts, and I'm like, well, fuck that. So I've been getting on Twitter, and what really kicked off getting into Gamergate was I saw there's a page on Facebook. It's called Anti-Feminazi. I'm sorry, my hair keeps getting caught. Um, but it's called Anti-Feminazi, and I saw this stuff being posted about Anita Sarkeesian. And I'm just like, who is this woman? What's a Patreon? Why is she wanting people to donate to it? Who the hell is this? So I started looking it up, and I typed Anita Sarkeesian into, YouTube. Found Internet Aristocrat and
Mm.
Sargon of Akkad and Mundane Matt and all of them, and that's what really kicked it off, because I've always been a gamer, not like a hardcore gamer. I don't play all the time because the hands don't work so good, but I've always played games, and my husband's a hardcore gamer. And what's funny is I'll have him play games that he doesn't even want to play so I can watch it because I like the storylines and everything, and like I get way too involved in the stories and like look up all the lore and all the backstory, and it's just, like I know, like say Dead Space, I know way too much about unitology. It's just like this cult that's in the game, but I know all the lore about it and stuff. So, I got really pissed off that people are trying to screw with games, and so that's, my issues with social justice warriors and gaming just so happened to collide at that perfect time when I became involved.
Yeah, and you did a great video on why you're so pissed off at social justice warriors, and it was one of the most powerful videos that I've ever seen.
Well,
Because
thank you.
you really authentically talked about who you are and some of the challenges that you have as a disabled person.
Hmm.
And
It's okay, just go with cripple. That's what I do.
but see, you're so strong that you make light of it. It's like Daniel's in the chat, and he said that you're such an inspirational person. And I don't, some of the people in the stream, I would love for you to share more about that to some of the people in the stream who may or may not have seen that video, because to me it was impactful, and it calls out all the bullshit on the social justice, crowd. That, I mean, these are people whining about mean tweets that they get, and you and I were comparing notes on the mean tweets that we get. The reality is that if people saw some of the stuff that you get and that I get, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I got one. It was back when I was doing my page. I got this person telling me that since I'm a conservative, which I'm a conservative-ish libertarian, but they immediately think I'm a Republican, which no, I'm not. But I'm actually a registered independent. But people automatically think I'm a Republican, and so they were going off about Paul Ryan back during the last presidential election, and saying that he supports rape, which I've never seen anything to that effect, but saying that if I support Paul Ryan, I deserve to be put in a stable and raped over and over and over again, and have all my children taken away from me, and have them raped, and just the stuff that people say is awful. But so what? It's assholes on the internet.
Right.
That's what happens when you put yourself out there as a semi-public figure. I'm not going to say I'm a public figure because most people don't know who the hell I am, but if you put yourself out there as a presence on the internet, you have to be ready for people to be assholes, and not because they're out to attack you, and not because you're doing something wrong. Any demographic is going to have assholes. There's assholes in Gamergate. There's assholes in anti-Gamergate, probably more. But there's asshole Democrats, there's asshole Republicans, there's asshole white people, there's asshole black people. Every group has assholes, and you just have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
So that's really just how I look at it.
Oh, it's true, and this is where. So you face real adversity in your life.
I guess so.
Yeah, well, I mean, because I was thinking about that. Like, after I watched your video, I was thinking how annoyed I would be. Not angry. I was thinking how annoying it would be to have a physical limitation. Like, I mean, my job's physical, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so and people don't realize how much physicality goes into something like porn, but we're doing all those weird positions. Everything about it is awkward.
Oh my God, no! I've tried. Like my my asshole ex. Like, the reason I'm not really into porn is because my asshole ex would try to get me to do what was in the porn he was watching and compare me to it, and, you know, like, why can't you look like them? Why can't you do what they're doing, kind of thing. So it's not really my thing to watch, but I don't, you know, I totally support the porn industry as an industry.
Right.
But no, I'm just saying I've tried to do some of the shit you guys do, and no, that is not happening. So no, that you've got some real strength and some real walls there.
Well, it's funny that, you know, it's sad that somebody used it in a way to be disparaging, because I'm going to be honest with you, you're totally hot enough to be a porn star. It's not like,
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
like, seriously, like, you could totally be a porn star. You'd probably struggle with some of the weird positions, but from a physical
I
standpoint,
there's that fetish market out there for, you know, disabled porn.
oh, totally. No, there is. That's, you know, it's funny because,
Oh, I know there is. One of my buddies sent me a whole website like, hey, you should do this.
you're like, that's all
And I was
right.
like, no. Although I did get accepted to Suicide Girls, but I never actually did it. So.
You know what? I remember you telling me that, which actually puts you above certain certain anti-figures.
Yeah, certain anti-figures that rhyme with thin. We'll go with.
Oh, we're not going to touch the poop, but you see, but you completely were accepted into it. I mean, it's actually hard to get accepted into Suicide Girls. That's why I told you could totally do
Oh
porn.
yeah, I had to send them all these pictures and everything. The reason I actually ended up not doing it, which I don't know if they had changed their policies now, but at the time, you had to find an approved photographer, like one of their approved photographers, and you had to pay for the shots. And I was like, yeah, I don't have that kind of money, so
Yeah.
not gonna do it.
Yeah, now they probably have somebody. But I mean, it's tough, you know, and that's one of those things that, you know, I mean, some people are happy they did it, and some people feel like they never, you know, live it down. But, you know, the fact that, I mean, here you live in a world where you are not only dealing, you're excelling with this annoying limitation that you have. Like, I have a couple of really minor physical limitations. I was in a really bad car accident, and it's just destroyed part of my shoulder, right? So I'll be on set, and my shoulder will give out, and I've got nerve damage. And it's just annoying.
Man.
Yeah, it's just annoying. It's like just something that I live with, right? It's like no big deal. It's just a thing. Like, that's a limitation I have. And the difference is that, you know, mine is super minor compared to what's going on with you, but you would say yours is super minor compared to somebody.
Oh yeah, no, like I in school they gave me something called an IEP, which is an individual education plan. And the reason they did that was because I physically couldn't carry the books, you know, to and from school. So they had to have a special thing put in place where I have a book in the classroom and books at home. And when they give you an IEP, though, what ended up happening is they ended up putting me in remedial classes.
Oh.
And yeah, that was pretty frustrating when they'd have us reading like young adult novels and stuff. And they're like, "Oh, you're supposed to be reading." I'm like, "I finished the book." You know, or I'd be done with my work, and the teacher would come up to me, you know, "Do you need help with this?" I'm like, "No, do you?" You know?
Yeah. No, totally. And that's, like, how annoying is that? That's like, you know, these people whine about ableism, right? They whine about that, but like, you really actually have had to face that.
I mean, I actually, I can truly say I've been disabled majority of my life. And I mean, I was diagnosed at 4. So, and up until high school, I could still walk. So, but I've been disabled most of my life, and I have never actually come across anything I can call ableism.
Interesting.
I mean, you know, like I said in my last vlog, all these ism words, you know, I feel like they're brought out to stifle your free speech or stifle your criticism of people who want something to be wrong with them because it makes them feel special. You know, like
Yeah.
the people saying they get PTSD over tweets is so hilarious to me because I have slight PTSD, not bad, but I have slight PTSD
Yeah.
um, from what I went through with my ex, and like there are times like my husband and I were outside on our patio and we saw these people across the street and they were having a fight, and the guy started trying to drag the woman into the house, and like I just went into flashbacks.
Yeah.
And I was breathing heavy and I was freaking out, but I snapped myself out of it and I held up my phone and I was like, "Hey, you need help?" And he let go of her and she ran.
Wow.
And she was able to get away and he was like, "Thanks, bitch." And I was like, "Take that, whatever. I don't fucking care." But
Yeah.
so I do have flashbacks and stuff like that. But saying you can get PTSD from a tweet is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life, and I've heard some really stupid shit. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's diminishing to people who've actually experienced violence. It's especially insulting to, like when they compare somebody who is a military like soldier who was in a war zone.
right,
I mean that crazy woman, I don't even know her name, but she's been
Melody something or something.
yeah, she's comparing the mean tweets she gets. I mean, stay the fuck off Twitter then. Just stay off of it. Like
Well,
you're making
and then
fun.
her trying to like contact their superior officers to try to get them in trouble with the military because they're telling her, like, "Look, I'm in the military. I have PTSD. You don't have PTSD." And she tried to get them in trouble with the military for that.
That's and it's just, I mean, this is the depth of this insanity. And it was only recently that somebody pointed out to me as cultural Marxism. And then I all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, that's totally what it is. I couldn't identify what the common thread was. And then it's like you like you were saying earlier, it's about silencing anybody, it's about silencing free speech, it's
Hmm.
about making it so that if you have a legitimate critique, you can't say it because then you're abusive. I mean, I've been called a harasser and abusive because people who literally called me out, I don't necessarily back down from stuff. It's like, so then if I respond to it, I'm the harasser
Oh
because
yeah,
I said so, they'll say something mean and then I say something mean back and I'm the harasser. And so it's literally like dealing with children
it
who
is.
they
It
don't have boundaries.
but they're asshole children that never got smacked in the butt. You know?
Yeah, yeah. No, well, you have a more of a first-hand knowledge with that. It's so frustrating as an adult person to watch the world and go, where's the personal responsibility? Because literally it's all tattling. Like, here's this woman who has Twitter PTSD, which is not even a real thing. I'm sorry, it's not a real thing. You can't get PTSD from Twitter. Stop saying that because it's obnoxious. It's like, it drives me crazy. Like sometimes I see stuff and I'm like, oh, like I feel like I'm going to just scream because it's driving me insane that the world is going this way. And so,
There have been a couple times where I just take my phone and I'm just like, I throw it across the room. Like, no,
right?
I have to have my husband go get it. But
It drives me nuts because I'll be on set too. Like a lot of times when I'm tweeting you guys, I'm sitting on a set and and like the other people that I'm working with are like, "What is going on?" Because I'm like, "This is ridiculous." Like but a lot of the people I work with are totally on the same side. They just don't say it publicly. But we're all going, "These people are nuts," and they're the tattling on like, "Oh, I'm going to tell your commanding officer," or
well, you know where this is coming from, right? Like a
tell,
lot of this.
no, I would love to hear your opinion on it.
Well, it's also the cultural Marxism, yes,
Hmm.
but like a part of that, we are now getting the generation that's hitting adulthood right now. Pretty much my generation. I'm 25,
Yeah.
so my generation and below was the generation that was getting the everyone gets a trophy
Right.
We're all winners. No, we have to stop playing once we hit a tie because no one can feel bad. And you're special. You're the most special. You're the smartest kid in the world. You're smarter than all the rest. You're prettier. You're going to be an astronaut. You're going to be the president. Inflating these people's egos to the point where they are not prepared for the real world. So when they hit the real world, they revert back to their, no, I'm special. Look at me, I'm special. My mom told me I'm special. And that's what I think where it's coming from.
I think you're totally right, because I'm about 7 years older than you. So
Really? Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, so I got the tail. I actually was born in that there's a little gap that they call the Cold War generation, where we were the last ones to have the wall up, I guess, in Berlin. So we had a slightly different thing, but they were starting to implement that stuff when I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
Just barely. They were starting to talk about, everybody gets a trophy, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Like, I remember being in kindergarten, and they did a race, like an actual physical race, and we had prizes. And I remember I won third place in this relay, and I was proud of that. I was like, I felt good about myself because I actually placed. And it's funny that that's one of the few things I remember from my childhood, but it was a defining moment because the achievement reward structure was wired in my brain at some point where I understood at 5, you do something, and if you do it well, you try I tried really, really hard, so I came in third. And that was a relevant moment for me in defining how I was going to behave over time. Now, when I was in elementary school, they started on you had to give everybody a turn, or you had to share certain, so
yeah.
I did really well in math.
Oh gosh, my son's birthday was a nightmare. He turned 6. Sorry, I'm back at he turned 6 at the beginning of this month, and he wanted to invite some of the kids in his class, and we were okay with that, but they have this policy where if you invite one kid, you have to invite all the kids in the class. I can't afford that. Are you serious? What am I supposed to rent out Chuck E. Cheese?
That's insane.
Yeah. So I just, nope. So we just did a small party at home, and he had a blast. I mean, we got him a bunch of Nerf guns, so he's totally happy.
but see, that's so unfair because what they're doing is they're like creating institutionalized socializing where you're forced to socialize with people you don't want to socialize with. Like,
there's this one kid in his class. I would never hurt a child, but I want to hurt this child because this kid has left marks on my son.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like I guess my son, they were having indoor recess because, winter, it's cold.
Yeah.
And this kid was building with Legos, and my son accidentally knocked over his Legos, and this kid grabbed him around the throat and choked him.
Oh.
Yeah, and I emailed the teacher. I'm like, look, this is the second time we've had an issue, and, if this continues, I want that child pulled out of the class, or I will be pulling my child, but this is violent. This child is violent, and no one's doing something about it. So do something about it.
Oh man, but that's such it's just like I was reading about, they're implementing this in California. I don't know if it's federal. It probably is because of the No Child Left Behind. They were talking about they're doing now, and it started in California, like a no punishment policy. So like how it used to be, like if you were an asshole in junior high or high school, you'd go to detention or you get sent to the principal's office.
Yes, that happened plenty of times with me.
Yeah, I wasn't always the best kid either, but in elementary school, they had punishment. You don't want to be sent to the principal's office. Now these schools are doing something they call compassionate discipline or some other bullshit social justice term. So what they're doing is instead of creating penalties, the kids nothing happens when they misbehave, and then later they have to go to a talking circle. Well, guess what? Kids aren't stupid. I don't care how young they are. They're not stupid. So they've learned that they don't have to follow the rules. So some of these schools, especially in the inner cities, have become complete lawlessness, and the teachers are actually afraid. And a friend of mine taught at one of the school districts in California. She retired. She was in for like 20 years. And she quit because she was working at a school in a lower class area, and some of the students were threatening her. Like, you're talking 15, 16-year-old boys were legit threatening to rape her, to kill her, to follow her home. And one of them attacked her in class. And she went to the principal, and they were like, well, we really can't do anything about that. I mean, you're talking legitimate, like, because it was, oh, we'll institute counseling. No, these are juvenile delinquents. These guys are on the path to becoming the same type of guys that rape Cytherea, right? And
Right.
but nobody wants to say anything because social justice, well, they're raised in lower income homes, so
I don't care. They're still assholes.
Absolutely, and they're dangerous assholes. And
Well, that actually happened. My sister has the same disease I do.
uh-huh.
And she goes around in a scooter and whatever, and she was a high school teacher, and she had to put her foot down on them and like, look, there were a few times where she had to bring in another teacher from her department, which was a guy, and like yank these guys out of her class.
Wow.
And it was dangerous for her. And luckily they're not doing that stuff with my son's class yet. Like, if they get first offense is warning, second offense they get timeout, third offense they go to the principal's office and they call home. So, but the thing is, the school he's in, like, it's a public school, but it's the first time I've ever come across this. They don't put the kids in classes by their last name, alphabetically. What they actually did was they had him come in for an evaluation, evaluated where he was on everything, and put him in a class accordingly.
Okay.
So, which I'm really excited about, actually.
Yeah. No, that's great.
That's great. But, yeah, no, I can't stand the fact that, I can't, if I'm in public and my son, does something that could be dangerous, like tries to walk out into the street, you bet your ass I'm going to swat him on the butt.
Yeah.
And someone will look at me like I'm abusing my child. It's like, no, first off, I can't hit hard enough to even, cause pain. It's about the embarrassment that mom is spanking me in public. Oh my God. I am so embarrassed.
Yeah.
You don't have to whack your kids hard enough to leave marks, but it's the embarrassment, and embarrassment's a great teacher,
And it's a pattern interrupt. I mean, they did studies on, it's something like most people don't reach their actual neurological development till the age of 21 or something. Like literally people are incapable of making appropriate decisions until that age.
Yeah, no, your brain's not done. And some people at least until 25, apparently.
Yeah, see, and and that's why, like, literally, like, little kids don't understand cause effect, but a pattern interrupt of not being hit hard, but just being spanked to force them to pay attention, because a lot of times they're just not paying attention.
Yeah, and the only time we'd spank is, again, if it was something dangerous, like, like going to touch a light socket, and stuff like that. But what we would actually do for, like, timeouts, we won't do just, oh, go sit over there. What we actually do is we have him brace his arms, or, well, his hands up against the wall, and then push his feet out as far as they go behind him. So he's, like, with his arms up against the wall, leaning forward. And, yeah, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't hurt him, but he has to maintain that position.
Right.
And stay there for, the amount of time we give him, and he just has to stand there. And it breaks the pattern, like, hey, no, go over there, assume the position. Almost like he's going to get frisked or something. But, what my husband's parents did, was there were times when, you know, he would be acting up. And he's a, you know, in karate, he's done karate for 17 years. So they have to do push-ups. So there would be times he'd be acting up in the car. They'd pull over the car, make him do push-ups on the side of the road.
That's great. That's great. You know, I think that, you know, it's a lot of it is stuff like that. Like there's a reason that in the military they would train people that way. If you force somebody to actually expend their own physical energy in order, you know, and tire them out. And also with kids, a lot of the time stuff like that works because I have ADHD, and I mean I've been diagnosed with ADHD.
No, I have ADD, so I
yeah.
get you.
Yeah, so I have ADHD. I have Asperger's syndrome. So when I was a kid, I was really odd because I was really, really good at math and science, but I'd get super bored if I wasn't engaged fully. I hated public school. I hated it, and they weren't sure what to do with me because on the one hand I seemed kind of autistic, but on the other hand I was pretty bright. So I got penalized a lot for moving around in school because I get
penal.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. See, everyone says I bring it back to porn, but
no. I wasn't going porn. I just have a dirty mind.
No, it's great though because I totally inspire that kind of stuff. But I was like I'm a high physical as well as having Asperger's, and I think, you know, I was lucky enough to at least come up still in the generation where I wasn't understood in school, but I wasn't necessarily medicated as a result of who I am. Now, a lot of these kids who have the same disorder set up that I have would be medicated right away. Because I was a girl, my female privilege was actually that nobody was looking for autism in me. So they weren't looking for autism, and they assumed that my poor behavior was just poor behavior and not ADHD. But if I had been a boy with the same characteristics, Ritalin right away, because they started introducing Ritalin when I was like in 4th, 5th grade. The teacher's like, oh, this is a wonder drug. Let's just drug them all up.
Oh my God, yeah, no, they put me on Ritalin and Adderall. Adderall was awful. Like, I ended up to the point where I was just a zombie, and I was just staring at cracks in the wall, you know? And the thing is, people are like, well, how do you know you have ADD then? I'm like, okay, if I didn't have it, I wouldn't have been zombie. I would have been hyperactive. It's a stimulant. Like, I've actually, I was trying to lose weight about a year ago, or year and a half ago, and because it's so physically hard for me to work out, my doctor put me on phentermine.
Okay.
And, you know, it's an amphetamine, and so, you know, it's a super duper stimulant, and I was reading about people like, you know, scrubbing their kitchen floors at 3 o'clock in the morning and running around and everything. And I took it, and it just treated my ADD. So I was like, oh, I'm focused. I'm going to read a book.
Interesting. That's so fast. Like, I've always been afraid of those types of medications. And when I was younger, I think I would have been more prone to experiment with it. So I'm kind of glad that like now, I mean, it's funny. They think everyone in the porn industry is like an addict of some sort. And I have no tolerance for medications, but I have a lot of friends who've taken Adderall as a focusing drug. Yeah. And I'm afraid to take it because I think it would probably help me because I'm so ADHD. It's frustrating sometimes because there's like so much going on in my head. And you know, I was talking with a good friend of mine about that, and he's like, well, you know, is it really that's a problem, or is it that we're people who are, especially now, especially looking at Gamergate or like the Comicgate, what are they calling that hashtag about the comic books?
Change the cover.
Yeah, change the cover. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much fodder now. I don't know if it's just me. I've been paying attention to the news and alternative news media and stuff like that for years. But it seems to be an increasing rate. Like every day now I check the news and there's some extra insanity that didn't exist. Like 3 years ago you'd have to look through them. You know, you'd have to look and you'd start, or even 5, 6 years ago. But now it's like every day there's some bullshit out that I'm going, if it's not Shirtgate, it's manspreading. If it's not manspreading, it's change the cover. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, like, who the fuck? There must be some fucking think tank somewhere that's just creating nonsense to fill our news dashboards. Because how did a comic book cover? How did that even become a thing? Or like today it was that Athena poster, the tennis woman. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
yeah. What the hell was that about? I didn't even see like what that was. I'm sorry. I'm trying to move this thing
Yeah.
off my wheelchair. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, it was just like it was a, what do you call it?
Like a poster?
Yeah, it's a poster. It's an art print. It's a kind of an iconic art print, something like that. And
Okay.
and you see her butt, and she's like kind of a toned, fit, tennis player. It's a hot picture
No,
because it's,
I saw the butt and I was like, damn, I wish I had that
yeah.
butt.
Oh, totally, totally. And
Oh, whatever. I've seen your butt. Your butt's amazing.
oh, I got the big Latin booty, but like she looks, this is an incredible figure, a tennis player,
Right.
right? And it's so interesting because it's an iconic image. It's kind of like, to me, I think of it, and I think of like also like the Bo Derek image, where she had the braids and she's in the swimsuit.
Oh,
And
see, I think of like Farrah Fawcett in the swimsuit with the the big smile.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally, yeah, totally, same thing. But I'm like, how did they figure out to get offended by this? And now it's like, well, it's problematic. I'm disappointed. It's all shaming language. If you notice, all they're doing is shaming. I'm disappointed in that. That's problematic. So then when you respond,
It's like when your parents tell you, "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed." It's like, "No, you're mad, just admit it."
totally, totally. And I notice that they're all triggered by stuff. It's all like attractive women or dudes who are actually accomplishing things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing like with like one of the ones I made that I sent you, because I'm always making memes, which I'm actually seeing my memes getting shared on like Facebook pages, and I'm like, I
No.
need that. But one of the ones I did was this, I'm sure she's aesthetically pleasing to some people, but this large feminist with almost goth looking makeup, but I don't want to say that because I'm a goth kid. But more like an emo kid, but she's rather big thick glasses, holding up a sign that says, "No, you make me a sandwich." And I changed it to, "I need feminism because I have a bad attitude and I feel physically unappealing." And what's funny is people see that and they think it was real. And it's like, no, I just edited that on my phone, guys. But no, that's the thing. That's what it is about them. They're so threatened by
Yeah.
anything that they see as pretty or something. It's like like what I said in my recent vlog was, someone had asked me if what I thought about the hair color
Mhm.
thing, the crazy hair colors that the SJWs do, which of course, being a goth kid, I did the crazy hair colors too. But
Sure.
um the reason I kind of think they do that is because, and all the other stuff they do, is they're in going along with this, they're threatened because they have no personality.
Right.
They have nothing genuine about them that anyone wants to be around. So they are upset and they want to attack anything that could be more appealing than them, whether it's physically or mentally.
Totally. I've noticed that that's a consistent thread. It's like they're literally hell bent on tearing down anybody who's bringing anything to the table. And what they do is they project a lot. So like I've had a lot of feminists come at me with, "Oh, you're just a fake sack of silicone tits and you have nothing else to offer the world and blah, blah. And I see this stuff and I'm like, I get what they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to get at me in a way that they think is going to trigger me because they don't understand me. Like, they assume everybody else is like them. They assume everybody else is devoid of value and of personality and of an intellect. And so they don't understand people who, like, I look at the world and I say, hey, the world's a buffet. So we can be as intelligent or hot or interesting or, whatever the hell we feel like being. Why not be all of them? Why not take the best of all the best? But they go, well, they're the most sexist group of people I've ever dealt with, because they say, oh, you know what? Hot women cannot be smart, and smart women cannot be hot, and interesting women cannot be hot or smart. Like, they have this triangle that they put all women on. And it's completely sexist, and it's completely untrue. And have I met men who do that to women? Yes, I have. I've totally met actual misogynists. Are those?
Oh, yeah.
Is that most men? No.
Oh,
it's
hell
not.
no.
The same percentage of men who are actually misogynists is like the same percentage of women who are actually rad femmes. It's like some, 10% or less of the.
Probably less.
Probably less. I mean, realistically, if I think about the misogynist,
I'd say
2%.
10%. I would say 10% of this generation.
10% of this generation of females are probably
rad femme.
And I'd say probably in life experience, I'm going to guess maybe 2-3% of men are actual misogynists. Not.
I've met maybe. God, I'm actually trying to think. One for sure, and it was the guy I had to get rid of my videos because of.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean.
He was a real misogynist, but I think he's the only actual misogynist I've ever met in my life.
I was thinking about that. I don't think I've ever. I'm sure I can find one or two actual misogynists I've met in real life. Most of the actual misogynists I've met are on the internet, and I think sometimes some of these guys are just angry and they're wounded, so they're blowing off steam by like hating on all women. It makes them feel better for a little bit, which honestly, like, fine, like, do that if it's gonna help you.
Well, yeah, like the guy, the one guy that I can say was a misogynist, he was just pissed off because. Like, I don't want to be mean or anything, but the guy was not very hygienic.
Got it.
And didn't have very good social skills, so he was, upset that people around him had relationships, and he was just rather creepy. Like, one of my other friends that he had met, he was totally obsessed with her, and one day he handed me his phone to take a picture for him of something, like of him doing something, and so his camera his phone went to sleep, and so I was trying to get it back on, the screen was asleep, get it back on and get the camera open, and I open it up, and his background is a picture of my friend that he had gone and taken off of her Facebook.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so like that kind of stuff, I'm like, dude, that's creepy. That's why you're not getting with anybody. But instead he would take it out, oh, all women are bitches, It's like, no, you're just weird.
Well, anytime people start with that talk, and this is where feminism fails, and this is where like, I did a stream and there were some dudes, specifically like, I had an extreme rad femme dude and an extreme MGTOW, and I know not all MGTOWs are that way, but there's an extreme MGTOW. So those two had come together to attack me, and it was fascinating to watch because I'm going, okay, so the rad femme was attacking me. It was interesting. The rad femme was attacking me for beauty privilege, saying, well, you're hot, so of course the world's easy for you, but what about all those poor women who aren't hot? So therefore, and I'm thinking, like, when I worked in engineering, I didn't make an effort to be hot at all. Like, I had short hair and whatever. So, but I never was treated poorly by the guys. Like, I worked with women too, but mostly dudes, and it was just about jobs, like job competency, right? So that didn't hold water. But then I had the extreme MGTOW saying, well, obviously you're a woman, you're uh, you're a narcissist, or blah blah blah, and but then pulling it out of him a little bit more, well, he had a crazy ex who was a narcissist, and that all gets projected. So every woman that he meets or that he sees on a stream who's saying anything, maybe in an outspoken way, is automatically a bitch narcissist, right? And I'm going, and the thing is, like, my mother actually was one of those, so I know that pattern well. Like, I actually spend a lot of time kind of in self-analysis going, okay, I want to make sure that I'm not propagating patterns that I was raised with, because I was raised by fucked up people. But it was fascinating, because I'm sitting with it going, is that true? And I'm like, no, that's not true. It's just like when feminists come at me and say, oh, they go for stock insults that they think are going to get to people, because those are the things that hurt them the most. That's how most people function, right? Like they go out of their way to hurt people in the way they know how, which is the way that hurts themselves. And I think,
right.
It's like, to me, I posted that Erin Pizzi, I don't know if you saw her. She's incredible, and she was she's one of the first empowered women humanists who said, wow, you know what, her mother was abusive, she's observing these social trends, and she said, these women need as much help as these men. And feminism has turned it into all women are victims and all men are oppressors. So if I say my mother was abusive, they say, oh, well, what did your father do to her? Well, what did her father do to her, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no personal responsibility. So they hold women very, very small. And they say, well, it's like the ones who say to me, oh, you're a porn star because men are oppressing you. And I'm like, bitch, I'm in a lesbian relationship and I do whatever the fuck I want. Nobody's oppressing me.
Right.
Nobody says, it's like they lack the understanding of the world.
No, I totally get that. Like, I've had people, like, thinking that, my husband is oppressing me. I'm like, you realize, it's definitely a partnership, but my husband is pretty introverted and I'm very extroverted, so I kind of, I don't run things because, again, partnership, but I kind of direct the flow of things in our relationship, because I'm just like, oh yeah, let's do this, we need to do this, and oh, got my wedding ring stuck in my hair. But there's no way I'm being oppressed here. I honestly, I hate to say it, but I'm probably at the top of the food chain of privilege, because I'm white, I'm a woman, and I'm a cripple, so I can get away with pretty much anything if I wanted to. Like, I'll admit, and I'm not very proud of this, but I went through a little kleptomania phase in high school, and I always knew I'd get away with it because, I could be like, oh, I'm sorry, it fell in my wheelchair, I didn't realize it. And, I knew I could get away with that, but actually I never even got stopped, not once. But I knew I could get away with it, and I hate that I took advantage of that, But I guess we all go through our phases that we're not proud of, but...
Totally. But you know what? I mean, this is where I was arguing, like, somebody was trying to say how disadvantaged we're as women. I'm like, I hold so many cards that when I hear women say to me, like, oh, we're all oppressed, or we don't, men have this male privilege. I was driving down the street the other day by a church, kind of a mega church by my house, and the cops are outside arresting a white male homeless man in front of a mega church. And
oh my God.
And I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, what's wrong with this picture? Think about it. So churches were set up, they were a gathering of community. They proliferate their religion, but they were also centers of support for the disadvantaged in society for many years. And this mega church has the money to have fountains and, whatever. And then this homeless guy, and by the way, like, I live in an area where there's actually a really fair share of homeless. I'd
Mhm.
say at least 60% of them are Caucasian, at least. Because the area I live in there's a lot of Hispanic people, and Hispanic people tend to take care of each other. So, like, if an uncle's down on his luck, he goes and lives with a family. They'll have 10 people living in a house, but they support each other. And a lot of
Right.
cultures are like that. A lot of these guys that are homeless are white war veterans.
Oh
And
yeah, no. Our vets are so in so much trouble right
so
now.
much. I mean, and a lot of them need like psychiatric or psychological support, true PTSD. They come back. There's no work. Some of these guys are Vietnam era vets who came back with PTSD, been living on the streets for 20, 30 years, alcoholics. And I'm going, where's the social support? Now nobody cares about that, even though we've got an
Well,
epidemic.
no, because social justice people can't see past their own biases, their own, anti-war bullshit to
Hmm.
understand that our veterans are human beings that need help,
Yeah.
you know. And what you said just reminded me of something that actually just I saw on Sargon of Akkad's This Week in Stupid that
Hmm.
he put up. Um, and it was at this church, this Catholic church in San Francisco, set up, which California is in a drought, correct?
Oh yeah, bad,
Yeah.
bad. Uh-huh.
They set up this watering system to go off at random times and just rain down water in their doorways because the homeless people are sleeping in the doorways
Oh,
and making it, not look, all nice and Catholic, I don't know. But it's they're trying to drench these poor homeless people that are just trying to sleep somewhere that, the Catholic Church has had problems, but it used to be you could get sanctuary,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You could be, somewhat taken care of, and now they're spraying down people with water. And I'm sorry, doesn't it say in the Bible, blessed are the poor,
Hmm.
and you I don't know. I'm not up on my Bible verses, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I
that's
I
the
think,
whole point.
yeah, it's, love thy neighbor and take care of each other. It really pissed me off. What made me leave the church that I was at when I was younger was it was a huge church, not a mega church, but it was enormous.
Yeah.
And they were doing a fundraiser, and they were doing a fundraiser to add a wing.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, why are we not doing a fundraiser to, I don't know, soup kitchen? you know,
Right, right.
Something that could help the community. I mean, I didn't grow up in the most poor community, but I mean, there were always people that needed help. And these people, hey, we need another wing on our giant ass church. That just made me sick.
Well, and that's, it's because I'm not religious at all, and I'm cool. Like, I believe people should be able to have whatever belief they
Oh
want.
yeah.
Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
like that's the American. I'm a libertarian, and I just really don't care. But I happen to know that churches get tax write-offs because
Yes.
they get tax write-offs because in theory they collect money to help communities.
In
That's
theory.
in theory, and that's why we didn't need this overarching government structure of things like welfare, which really, how much of that
Well,
money that goes to the welfare system actually gets to the people. I look at these homeless people that live near me, and I'm thinking, they're not getting help. There's one church in the area who, I think it is a Catholic church. They do a soup kitchen like once a week, and then there's another one that does a soup. Actually, the other one that does one is a Unity church. They're like a hippy dippy, like non-religious. But anyway, but I'm noticing a trend here where they're collecting money tax-free, and then the government is also collecting taxes in theory to help people, and how much of that are they keeping? And so, like, one thing that I was interested in talking to you about is this liberal lunacy, because I'm not super political. I'm really not. I'm like
right.
I'm a Carlin-esque political. Like, I think that I think it's all bullshit that's designed to oppress all of us all the time. That's how I see it. But I'm noticing, especially with the way that they push like liberalism, like we're gonna go help people with Obamacare, for example. I was
Oh God, don't get me started.
well, I was talking to two of the nurses at the testing facility where we get tests for as adult performers. And the one is telling me how she owes the government $1,200 in back taxes in
Hmm.
addition to all the back taxes they took. Well, I didn't know this because I pay for my own insurance out of pocket, but evidently when you sign up for Obamacare, like they'll subsidize. Like she was paying 90 a month and they were subsidizing 150, and she actually only needed it for 2 months and she canceled it after 2 months, but they still billed her for a full 6 months. Well, that 150 a month, if you have a tax refund, they will pull it out of your tax refund. The IRS does that automatically. So it was like, I don't know, 369, 12, I don't know, $1750, something like that, whatever it was. And she, they took like $500 from a tax refund and then they billed her for the rest. And I actually didn't know it worked that way. And I'm going, wow, so they're using emotionality under liberal.
Hmm.
Like, 'cause I know I live in LA, right? So I'm around all these progressive bleeding hearts. Oh, it's going to be so great. Everyone's going to have health care. It's going to be
Yeah.
amazing. And what did they do? They just instituted basically a brand new fucking tax that is a direct
Yeah.
handout to insurance companies.
Oh God, you should see the shit that was actually in Obamacare, which granted, I didn't read the whole thing because it was, I'm not joking, 50,000 pages. I'm not exaggerating that. And, but some of the shit in there was like a new tax on gold.
Really?
Yeah. And, but where it affected me was, um, I had lost my, prescription drug coverage. And
Okay.
so, I went, because I had gotten chemical burns on
Oh,
my ears and my neck and stuff. Because I don't know if you've ever heard of people being allergic to it, but in hair dye, there's this chemical called paraphenylene diamine,
okay.
or PPD for short. And I've been dyeing my hair since I was 14.
Okay.
My hair is naturally blonde.
Okay.
So, yeah. But it turns out I'm allergic to this hair dye, so I ended up with chemical burns on my scalp. And, I'll send you pictures sometime of what I ended up looking like. But I had to get, a burn cream and also, a prescription for my painkiller that I get. And, oh yeah, we talked about the Percocet. But, I went to go and fill it, and I found out I didn't have prescription drug coverage. And they told me it was going to be $180 for everything. And so I was like, whoa, okay, no. So I went home and I called the Ohio Medicaid
Uh-huh.
thing to see if I could get back on it because I had been on Medicaid at one point, and at least to get the prescription part. And so they told me, oh yeah, you're already signed up because of Obamacare. I was like, okay, cool. And they're like, yeah, for us to institute your prescription drug coverage, you'll just have to pay your spin down. I'm like, what the hell's a spin down? And they're like, because the way Medicaid works, at least in the state of Ohio, is they send you a new paper card every month.
Okay.
So if that lapses, if you have the card from last month, you can't get any care.
Okay.
So for them to send the card, I had to pay what they called a spin down, and I'm like, what's that? And they're like, well, it's like a monthly premium. I'm like, okay, thinking it's not going to be that bad. And I'm like, so how much is it? And they said $420 a month.
No.
And I told them to politely go fuck themselves. I'll go pay out of pocket for my prescriptions. So it was pretty rough
Oh
for a
my
while there.
God. See, and that's, I have private insurance, and I was hell bent on keeping it. If you like yours, you can keep it, right? So I kept my insurance, and then I get a letter.
Your
Oh, by the
your
way,
Obama impression was kind of scary. Good.
thanks. I've learned a few things acting in porno.
Well,
People
he
thought
does
porno.
whore himself out.
Thought
No,
porno. That was good. That was like a burn. That was a good burn. Um,
not on you, on him.
no, totally. No, it was awesome, and it's funny because well, he's a much bigger whore than I could ever hope to be.
Oh yeah. No,
I'd have to be taking it in the butt every day for the rest of my life to get his level of whore.
actually no, he's the pro because he's fucked everyone in America.
Yes, exactly. I could only fuck to hope 300 million in my lifetime. But I mean, see, like the rate, my insurance rate went up again. Like, am I shocked? No, because I'm part of the Carlin school of course they're fucking us over. Of course the insurance is going to get more expensive. What now? They're gonna, and in California, I mean, there's a reason that a lot of the righties call it California. Like there is, because for example, in LA County, they've now banned plastic bags. Now, does that mean that they have? So Los Angeles County, you can't, like when you go to Target or whatever to buy stuff, they don't give you bags. You have to bring bags, or they will.
That would piss me off so bad because I use those for cat boxes.
Right. Like most people actually use the plastic bags for trash can liners or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so they made it because the environment, like they like to use the environment as a way to institute Marxism on us, right? So the plastic bags, like, oh, there's too many plastic bags. There's so much trash in the world, and so, LA County does. It looks like post-apocalyptic in half of it. It's really bad, but so they banned the plastic bags. So in theory, the trash is going to get better, right? No. So now what they do is they charge you 50 cents for paper bags. So people have to buy bags. They have to buy paper bags. And has the trash gone down at all? No. Of course not.
Of course not.
Of course not. So they're charging us for the thing that should be free and is free everywhere else. And I mean, honestly, I'm like, I look at, again, I'm going, you people are really this stupid. It's just like in California, and you'll appreciate this as somebody who cares about politics. They just voted in our what do you call it, governor right now was in office in the 70s and I think early 80s. I can't remember the exact dates. It was that time frame.
Right.
And he totally fucked over California the first time. I can't accuse him of embezzling money because nobody knows because he sealed his records for 50 years. However, there was money allocated to build a train system in LA, and then the money was gone and the train system never occurred, and he sold off the land for a freeway that Reagan had to buy back and turn into and had to buy it back at like 10 times the cost, by the way. So he just royally fucked up a whole bunch of things. And then
is this guy in the mafia? Shit.
Who knows? I mean, God, he's so filthy. And then, so Californians are so stupid, though, because he ran on the Democratic ticket and not the Republican ticket. And actually, the funny thing was, the woman who was running on the Republican ticket was the lady who basically made eBay what it is. Like, she's a really bright business person. And so, but because she was a Republican, they made a big to-do that she had a Mexican housekeeper who was undocumented, which, by the way, I live in a Hispanic neighborhood. Probably 80% of the people around me are undocumented. Like, welcome to California. It's like
right.
No big, like everybody hears, like I'm documented because I'm from Puerto Rico, but like all these other people are not, right? So whatever. It's just the most normal thing. I went to college with people who were not citizens, who were here legally. Anyway, so they made a big deal about it. Everyone accused her of being a horrible racist, and then they voted in this guy who had this filthy track record, and so now he's doing it again. He's doing the same fucking thing. He's promised us this high-speed rail, this train that goes from LA to San Francisco for some reason that none of us can figure out. Like nobody, like it's an hour flight, and they run like 10 flights a day out of LAX between LA and San Francisco. It's the easiest thing in the world to get on a plane and go there, and it's cheap. It's like $80 each way. So he's creating this rail, and at first it was like, oh, you're going to get from LA to San Francisco in 2 hours and give you super high-speed rail. And then they're like, oh, we don't have the budget to build new railing, so we're going to run it on the existing rail, so it'll probably take about 3 hours. And now it's like, well, actually, because we have to allocate for the trains, the other trains on the tracks, it'll probably be 4 to 6 hours. So literally it will be...
So why not just fucking drive?
It's literally the same time to either drive or take the Amtrak that already exists, but they're throwing, like, I don't know how many millions or billions of dollars
Oh
into
my
this
God.
project, and I'm sitting here dumbfounded, just going, like, literally, this is liberal lunacy because this is insane. What
Name drop.
yeah, totally. And it drives. I'm going. Does anybody else see this? Like, why am I in a land of crazy? Like, and the Californians I talked to about it, they're just like, yeah, but well, I guess he probably knows what he's doing.
God.
I mean, it's like I live in SJW, capital of the world. Well,
No,
no,
the
San
same thing was
Francisco.
happening to me when I was coming out against Obamacare, and I was telling people, no, this is so bad. We are so screwed. And I actually had people going, well, you're just against people with disabilities that need help.
Oh shit! That's awesome.
Yeah, and I have internalized misogyny too.
Yeah, well, oh yeah. Well, that's, and we're going to talk, I mean, more about feminism and stuff like that because that's like when you think about it, you and I both have a lot of silver bullets when it comes to those arguments, right? Like you have all of the like female, disabled, abusive relationship, like on and on and on. Like you have all those cards. That
Right.
they try to go, well, you don't know what it's like, and then you're like, no, actually I do. No,
Actually, I
exactly.
lived that. You
Right. And I have to say, like, I get the sex worker, Hispanic, minority, like, I get all of those cards, right?
know,
And I'm going, those of us who've actually lived through it, it's just, it doesn't work. Because then you find out, like, people are people. Some of the most discriminatory people I've met are in the feminist movement, to be honest.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. And people ask me, like, are you an anti-feminist? I'm like, I'm an anti-idiot.
I love that.
Ah, it's just it's. I mean, I'm trying to stay away from politics, but the reality is, and I was talking to some other dude about it, and it's like if you look at what they're doing with feminism, I can't help but notice that so much of this is to prop up Hillary Clinton.
Hmm.
In my opinion, I mean, I'm watching. Like, here's what concerns me. Here's what I'm afraid of, and I'd love your take on this, which is it seems like they're going toward if you critique a woman, it's misogyny. So
Right.
so
Or
it's like
disagree with them at all.
right. So like when Obama was running, if you disagreed with Obama, you were a racist. It's just because you're a racist, right?
Yep.
So
I always told people, no, I hate the white half too.
when I saw, I'm like, okay, it's just another talking head puppet. Like these guys are all on their puppet strings, bowing down to their corporate banking masters, like whatever. But um, it concerns me because if there's a legal precedent, that's what always concerns me is the legal precedent. If there's a legal precedent in place that says abuse or harassment of women, i.e. mean tweets and disagreements online, is a criminal offense, then they're literally able to shut down any questions of discourse of
Yeah.
I mean, you've been watching this longer than me, so I would love your take on that.
Um. So okay. So basically, you want my take on like, is that their strategy
Well,
to
yeah,
shut
yeah,
down any dissent, pretty much?
right. Well, I mean, especially in regards to Hillary Clinton, because I mean,
Um.
because Clinton's like, anyone who's watched the Clintons for years, it's like, I mean, I'm amazed because I'm watching an oligarchy from what I'm seeing. It's like Bush one and then Bush two and then
Oh yeah.
Clinton
No, it's
one.
scary. And actually, the Republicans are okay. I call them rhinos. Republican in name only. It's like the old guard, because a lot of the conservative movement is younger people like me, who we don't identify as Republican, but that's kind of what we're stuck with,
Mm,
as far as who we're voting for a lot of the
right,
time.
right.
But the old guard is legit talking about running jab.
I mean, so then we'll have Bush three. I mean, this is
Yeah,
it's crazy. This is why I
yeah.
kind of opted out of politics, like,
But
because
um, but no, with Hillary, it's fucking scary. And yeah, I've gotten the oh well, how could you not support, a female president? You're a female. It's like, yeah, I also have a brain. But she's awful, and yeah, I get a lot of that shit. Just basically, yeah, you're well, they don't call me a misogynist unless they don't know I'm a woman. But yeah, the internalized misogyny, or you just hate progress for women. You're so backwards. You want to be a stay-at-home mom, and how are you against progress for women? Da 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 da. I get a lot of that shit. And yeah, that's what the social justice people do. They use someone's race or disability, or their gender or gender identity, or sexual orientation as a way, or religion if they're a Muslim.
Right.
Because the big word that everyone's scared of is Islamophobia. So like, if you disagree with someone who's a Muslim, oh, you're an Islamophobe. If you disagree with someone who's gay, oh, you're a homophobe. And they use all these things to shut down any kind of dissent.
Right.
And they do that to basically just shove through their their agenda. And I have a feeling they run a lot of these people, these women, because the people behind all of it tend to be the people they proclaim they're fighting against. They're white guys with a lot of money. They're old,
Right.
And so there's that. And so they're behind the power, and they run these people because they use them as a shield. Get it? Not your shield. But that's what they do. They use these people to advance their agendas. And so they ran Obama. They're running Hillary. Next it's going to be, I don't know, a hermaphrodite with 6 penises. And that goes by the name of Tessa. Testosterone. So, or Tasha Salad.
Oh, man.
But that's what they're always going to do is use these people, because they've figured out that people are so afraid of being called anything, anything that's not politically correct. They fear it so much that they'll just go along with it.
And I find that to be so offensive as a woman and as a not white person. I'm really offended by it. That two things. First of all, I have to concur with a politician because she happens to have a vagina supposedly, and I do too. I mean,
I wonder about that, but
I've never seen it, so until I see something, I don't. Juries, it doesn't matter to me.
I'm wondering how many bats are in there, but
cobwebs. But
like every time she queefs, it's like, and all this dust.
Oh God! You know what? I'm gonna have to make a porn of that. But but seriously, think about it.
You better credit me in that.
I will. I totally will. But it's fascinating to me because we're so sexist. It's making everything more sexist and more racist. I'm a mixed ethnicity person, and so I'm Hispanic and I'm white, but I'm part Native American on that side. So I'm a big mutt. And when I was growing up, everything was okay, it doesn't matter, your skin color. But now your skin color is super important. But it's
what defines you.
Yeah, and so I grew up with the mentality of okay, this is just what I inherited, but it's not who I am. Right. And that's a pretty empowering position to be in. I get to decide what my thoughts are. I can take what I want from my cultures. I had experiences growing up that are culturally specific, but it doesn't mean that that's me, right?
Right.
And so now, SJWs will tell me, oh, well, you're a woman and you're a Hispanic woman, and therefore you must vote for Hillary Clinton because she cares about Hispanic women. And I'm going, but I don't agree with her principles. Like, I agree, like, I want freedom for everybody. I want everybody to choose whatever they want to do as long as it's not harming other people. Be a stay-at-home mom, like, go teach a student school, go travel the world, go, whatever it is that's going to make people happy, male or female, any gender, in any ethnicity. I mean, because there's more than two genders, too. And that's
Right.
the thing, the other thing is, like, I'm around a lot of alternative people just because of the industry I work in.
Oh yeah.
And, like, to me, that's just normal. Like, I don't care. People should do what makes them happy. Like, that's fucking it. Like, why the fuck do we care what is going to make other people happy? When did that start? And now the worst way to do it is to, oh, I care, and therefore I'm going to police everything about you. And I've been told, oh, well, you have to vote. You have to vote Democrat because you're a minority female. Now, I usually, if I did vote, and I'm so disenchanted with the whole process, I don't know that I will again. But when I voted, I
Right.
would usually vote independent or some third party because I felt like I needed, like, one year I voted for Mike Gravel in the first Obama election. I voted for Mike Gravel because Mike Gravel is a true progressive and
Mhm.
a little bit more statist than I am now. I mean, my thoughts and beliefs have changed, but when I voted for Gravel, people were like, well, how dare you vote for someone who's not a Democrat? You threw your vote away. And I'm going, but
Mhm.
I don't, like, I'm watching this and I'm going, I don't want to vote for Obama. It's not because, like, I honestly didn't feel like he had the experience and I didn't feel like he knew what
He
he was
didn't.
talking
He
about.
had, God, he had 2 years in the Senate, and I think more than anything he did, he voted present.
Yeah,
He wouldn't vote on anything except
right.
present. Yeah, I'm here. I'm not gonna vote, but I'm here.
Like, yeah, I'm not really going to stand for anything. Because I'm planning over the long term to be the
Well,
president.
it's actually scary some of the stuff he did support.
Mm.
Like, I don't know what your stance on abortion is. That's a moot point on this part. But there are times uh, during a late term abortion,
Uh-huh.
which honestly I am totally against late term abortion, and I will tell you why. Um, they say it's for the life of the mother. Okay, that's the only reason they do it.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, they have it written in the laws that life of the mother can even be, I'm stressed out because I'm pregnant and I don't want to be.
Ugh.
And so what's scary is because I had a C-section with my son, and they had to treat it like an emergency C-section,
Uh-huh.
because they had to knock me out because I couldn't have an epidural because I have a spinal fusion.
Okay.
So they had to get him out in under 5 minutes, and they did. And
Wow.
that's how fast an emergency C-section is. They can have a child out of you in under 5 minutes.
Wow.
Now, with a late-term abortion, um, that process can take 2 days because they have to induce labor, they have to turn the baby breech, and then deliver it all the way up to here,
Huh.
and then they scramble its brain.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And so if it was the life of the mother, would you do the 5 minute procedure or the 2 day procedure and kill the baby?
Right. Well, and then you're getting in. See, this is where this stuff gets like. People have asked me, and I don't know that I have a well-informed opinion of things like abortion because here's my take on it. My personal take. Personally, I would not have one. Personally,
Right.
that's just me. I'm not saying other people shouldn't have them. I'm just saying that personally, I would really struggle psychologically with the idea of killing a child that was growing in me because of some convenience issue. Because most of the women I know who've had abortions, it was a convenience issue. This isn't the right time. I don't want this to be the father, whatever. Am I saying that they shouldn't have done that? No, I don't know. Like, I'm not walking in other people's shoes. But
Right. You don't know what they were going through at the time.
I don't, but personally, where I'm at, especially in my head now, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
And what I find fascinating, actually, about it what I find so interesting about the nexus of the two political parties, like here, like the most liberal progressive people are, they claim to be the most humanist and pro-life of people, but they're the ones who support things like late-term abortions, which are really barbaric when you really break it down to the nitty-gritty of how
Right.
it's done. I mean, especially because I have friends who are super early preemies who've lived and grown up to be exceptional adults. So if you're talking like 6 month gestation, I mean, people can live. Like they can. And there was a girl, I remember watching a video of a girl who
You
was
have
a,
to get to 20 weeks. They can save a baby, I think, at 21 weeks at this point.
got it. Okay, so I mean, so I don't know the dates on this, but it's like I have a friend who was literally one of these should have died super early preemies and then
Mhm.
has lived and grown up to be a beautiful woman. And so I maybe this is where I'm like a bleeding heart libertarian because I see life as being very fragile. Like we are all gifted this amazing experience of living in the world. It's a really amazing thing, and it's so fragile and it's so finite. And all of us are really gifted with these amazing. You don't think about it when you're living. You're going through your life and you're living. But I used to volunteer a lot at a hospice center. And I did that for about 2 years, and I sat with people who were dying. And a
Right.
lot of what I actually did was talk to families, to be honest. And it's not something I talk a lot about, but I'm talking about it here because it's relevant to me because I had this like moment of, oh my God, life is so fragile, like it's so fragile and it's so quick. And there was this one family where like the father was really young, he was like 35 and he got pancreatic cancer and it just started to devour his body and he was in hospice
Oh,
and
man.
and God, I mean, life is such an amazing gift. It's such an incredible gift, and so people, they're a great young couple. They're going through their lives. They just had a kid. They had another one on the way, and then this man gets pancreatic cancer, and all of a sudden his mortality's in his face. And it was so upsetting. And so when people are able to kill life very easily,
Hmm.
I question whether that's good psychologically. I don't know. I don't, I mean, I've seen the pro stats for abortion. Like, I can't make other people's decisions. Like,
Right.
there were all these stats of if you, like, abortions in an area, especially in low-income areas, like, 20 years in the future, the crime rate went down. Is that related to the abortion? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's causation.
Right.
I'm
Correlation doesn't necessarily, you know, go with causation.
right. I mean, so I have questions about it. I don't have answers, but I
But,
have, but I look at life like I think, it's such a fragile
oh,
gift.
yeah.
When people are able to discard it, I don't believe in discarding life, whether it's, military action or abortion. I just psychologically for myself, I can't feel good about it.
Right. Well, where I was going with this,
I'm
because
sorry, I
coming back
digress.
to Obama, he actually supported um, what happens is sometimes when they're trying to do that procedure and they have the baby turned around breech, um, it'll come out all the way before they can kill it. And so technically a baby is not alive legally until it's taken a breath.
Okay.
And that's why they turn it breech. So its head is still inside. And what he actually supported was these babies that are born during that procedure, um, putting it by itself in a room, and letting it die.
How long? I mean, how long does it sit there before? I mean,
I mean, they don't wrap it up, it's to the cold. So,
it's
it's
just
a cold room, hypothermia, you know, it's sick. It's completely sick. I don't know how someone who could support something that barbaric, I don't care what someone's stance is on, pro-choice, pro-life, that is barbarism.
right. I mean, that's where I sit with it. Like, I understand, they have like morning after pills and preventive pregnancy, blah blah blah. Like, even like early term abortions,
Well,
but
hell, I mean, I have a Mirena, and people have told me that's abortion, and I'm like, yeah, no, not
no,
really.
there's a difference between preventing a pregnancy and and literally
Right.
end you. And especially, you're talking about these fully formed infants that might be
Human being. It's a human being at that point.
right. And
If it can, be outside and survive, yeah, it can't survive without, being clothed and fed, but it's breathing on its own. It has, all its capacity to have a heartbeat and brain function and working lungs. It's a human being at that point. So, yeah, but I didn't want to go all into politics. I'm sorry.
no, but I'm interested in this because I actually don't go into politics very often, and the reason I don't go into politics is because I don't feel like I have a very well informed opinion on it. Like because I kind of opted out. Like back during the first Obama election, and probably actually a little bit before that, but during the first Obama election, I opted out because I saw through the bullshit. I saw them trying to pull the race card, and because I'm a minority, like that shit doesn't work with me. Like I'm not
Right.
racist. I'm not racist. Like they
No,
can
no, it's like when people pull up the ableism shit with me. Yeah.
exactly. Like I'm looking at it. I'm like, if you saw my family in Puerto Rico, you'd see everything from like the whitey blondest blondie, probably originally from Denmark people, and then you'd see black people, and then you'd see every color in between. So especially for like being from the islands, like everybody's super mixed there because it's just what happens. It's like being from Brazil or one of those countries where people mixed a lot. So when they pulled a race card with me, I'm like, that doesn't work. And why are you trying to distract me from a real issue? Then I'm insulted. And I see these policies, and I see what I see as it's the hypocrisy. It's we care about humans and human life, but only when it fits this framework. And I think both sides of the political it bothers me that in the U.S. we're only dealing with two political parties too.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's such a problem because it's literally I've had people say, well, you got to vote Democrat because it's the lesser of the two evils. I'm like, yeah, but they're still both evil. Like
Yeah.
I can't, and who's to say that they're the lesser? I mean, quite frankly, the social Marxism that we're seeing coming out of the SJW camp is, in my opinion, over the long term more damaging. Because, it used to be, and we see this in the porn industry, actually. This is why I was writing some articles on it, where the porn industry was always criticized by the super right wing. Like that was, you got the people with the Bibles and the porn is bad and, all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
And that was the thing for years. But they still exist. Like there's some little pockets of it, but it's mostly gone away. But the most formidable opponent that we're dealing with right now are the SJW types. And I'm not talking the social SJWs. I'm not talking people who dye their hair pink. There's plenty of sex positive people. But from a government statewide level, it's the a porn is an oppressive, damaging industry. And now there's this guy who wants to be the new porn czar, and he's basically the head of a big foundation for AIDS healthcare. It's the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. But he's trying to pull the card of that porn stars need to be subject to OSHA health rules and that we need to be required to use condoms on set, which is
Right.
a total.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, it's a total infringement of our rights because, see, on a porn set, most people, to go into the health reasons for it, when you're doing porn production sex, you're sometimes filming like an hour and a half of sex. If you've ever worn a condom for that long, first of all, there's like it makes it harder for the male performers. It makes it harder for us. It creates abrasions in the vagina. What most people don't realize is that our testing protocol in the industry is so advanced and it's so accurate.
Rigorous.
Yeah, every 14 days we get a full battery blood test, and the HIV test that we get is the RNA test, and the RNA test tests for the virus in the blood, not the antibodies. So within the first 10 days of receiving the virus, you don't actually have a high enough viral load for more than a few weeks to transmit the virus. It'll exist in you, but you can't transmit it. So the RNA test will actually pick it up before it's transmittable. And this is something that most people don't understand about our testing. So the reason that we all feel comfortable performing without condoms is the constant rigorous testing. So I'm working with somebody, his test is within 14 days. So I know even if he goes and gets HIV offset, it's just science. I'm not going to get it from him. The next test will pick it up before he can transmit it. That's how it works. And that's why they do it that way. And the AIDS Healthcare Foundation is typical progressive SJW, and what they've pushed in California, they've been trying to convince the voters it's for the good of the. Oh, we're taking care of them. We're taking care of the employees. Those poor porn performers are oppressed, and we need to help them. Right?
Oh yeah, and you get taken out back every so often and get whipped because you're not performing well enough. Granted, that might be part of the, scene, but
But it's so damaging. I mean, it's such a problem because again, it's not just the condoms. Like, yeah, it's annoying for us in the porn industry, and it could potentially shut it down or shut it out of California. And we're so well regulated. I mean, honestly, like we're so well regulated that the last thing we need is we are so internally well organized with this. The porn industry has really gotten its stuff together. So to have some outside force spew that same social justice thing, do it under the guise of helping us, and on top of it, now they're going to create a legal precedent that does what? It takes away the rights of private citizens to have sex the way they want to. So what's the creep on that? So right now it's porn stars. Well, nobody cares about porn performers. Nobody cares. Good. Regulate them. Make them all wear condoms. Good. I think that's a good thing. Those disease-ridden porn stars, right? But then it becomes, well, everybody has to use condoms all the time. Who's to say that that's not an eventuality? Who's to say that it's not going to be an eventuality to limit how many children people have? Like, we don't know where this is going to go, because once you start down that legal precedent creep, and this is the stuff that freaks me out. I used to think it was the conservatives, but now I'm more worried about the SJW types.
yeah, we conservatives tend to get a bad rap, and we're really the ones who, majority of conservatives, and again, please do not think that the Republicans that end up running and shit are conservative, because they're not. They are pretty much just the exact same as the Democrat that's running. It's just they're running under a different title.
Yeah.
But most of the conservatives, at least of my of our age group, basically under 35, under 40, are really just basically libertarian, whether they want to believe it or not. And can you pull that chair over? Thank you. Sorry, my husband's helping me out.
Oh. Oh.
But they basically, all we want is, hey, you get your rights, I get my rights, and you leave me the hell alone.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the scary thing, is that people who just call for liberty are now attacked by both sides. By both sides. Like I've met a lot of libertarians who were, oh, I'm a libertarian and I'm pro free speech, and I'm like, porn industry, and they go right to, oh, well, the porn industry is a terrible, terrible thing. It needs to be shut down. And I'm like, oh, how interesting. So porn is great because it's so divisive that it weeds out people who you can tell really quickly what side of freedom people are on.
Right.
And I think that, I stand for the freedom of the super religious right wing who want to homeschool their kids in the backwoods somewhere. I think if that's what they want to do, they should do it. I think that people who want to be porn actors, or people who want to, live however they want to live, I think people should do that. I think it's really, because if you're comfortable with yourself and your own life, you don't need to regulate others.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. I we've been over it, that I have my issues with porn.
Mm-hmm.
Not porn actresses or actors,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. I mean,
Right.
I wouldn't be friends with you otherwise.
Right.
But,
Right.
I have my issues with porn, but I am not that delusional that it's like, well, I don't like it, so everyone else has to not like it too. I must destroy it.
Totally. I mean, there's so many things that I'm just disinterested in. But so what? Like, I'm not really interested in hockey. I'm not. I grew up in Southern California. I'm not really interested in what happens in hockey. Do
I
I
don't know.
hate
I think we need to regulate the hockey and get rid of the hockey. That's
Yeah,
just
exactly. But hockey's violent and it's male patriarchy in action and they have phallic-shaped objects that they hit vagina-shaped objects with and it's so awful. We need to have hockey
okay.
games.
Can we please make like hockey with big penises and like little vagina pucks and like pat them around and everything? That would be so funny.
Totally. Totally. I
Oh
think
my
it'd be
gosh, this
great.
needs to happen. Someone make this happen. I
We
don't
could,
care who. Just do it.
it's probably somewhere on the internet. We probably just have to
Oh God,
do it.
yeah. You know, Rule 34 of the internet or whatever. Is it Rule 34 or 32? I don't know. But the rule is if it exists and you can think of it, there is a porn of it.
That's true. No, that's true. And the funny thing is that, I think a lot of people who actually don't like things, it's because they've never had real world exposure. Like, I've noticed that a lot of the people, let's say, I'm going to use porn again as an example because it's easier
Oh,
for
go
me.
ahead.
But a lot of the people who hate porn actors or who think that we're all objectified have never actually interacted with any of us. So it's like I was talking about hockey. I've never been to a live hockey game. Like it's probably super fun if you live up in Canada or somewhere that it's cold and you go to a hockey game. It's like probably the most
Actually,
awesome
we
thing.
have a pretty bomb-ass hockey team in my city, so.
Yeah, see, like there you go. So I wasn't exposed to it, so it's easy for me to sit here in Southern California where it's like 70 degrees all year round and go, oh, I hate hockey, and because it's patriarchy, when I've never been exposed to like how totally cool it could be. And it's the same thing with a lot of this stuff where the cool thing about Gamergate is that I've gotten to be on streams and we've talked, just talked to people and people are like, wow, I didn't know porn stars could be smart, and because the bar is so low, I'm like not that smart, but I can at least talk to people about other subjects besides porn, although you wouldn't know it sometimes. But people are like shocked by this, right? They're shocked. It's just like people who talk to you are probably giving your views. They're like, oh my God, she's in a wheelchair.
Oh
Like,
no, I get that all the time. And like
yeah.
I actually cuz I get Social Security.
Mhm.
And most conservatives are kind of anti. Okay, I want to actually clarify this because a lot of people think that conservatives are totally anti-welfare and anti-Social Security and stuff like that. No.
Mhm.
The way we look at it, at least majority of the people I've dealt with, because, I had 14,000 plus people on my page.
Yeah.
So, I dealt with a lot of conservative people.
Mhm.
Um, and basically, the way we looked at it was we're all for helping the needy. We just don't want to fund the lazy, you know?
Right.
And so I get Social Security, and, one of my friends who was dating a horrible bitch, whore, land whale. Oh, God. Okay, I'm sorry. It's
Tell me
my
more.
favorite thing in the world to rip on this woman because it's so easy.
Yeah.
Uh, it's like shooting land whales in a barrel. Um, but she just is total social justice warrior, awful person, and he was dating her at the time, and so she was kind of coloring his viewpoints and everything, and he was like, I bet all of the people on your page would really be mad at you, if they found out you're on Social Security. I'm like, they all know. I've
Yeah.
talked about it.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah. No, because those programs were created to help those in society who are physically unable to work.
Yeah, it's like I can't drive. I can't drive a car. Um, I'll be totally 100% honest with you. My husband has to help me into the bathroom. Granted, I take over from there. But,
Yeah, yeah,
it's not like I can just walk in there,
yeah.
He has to help me in and out of the shower. Yes, everyone think about me in the shower there for a minute.
I'm going to. I'm doing it now.
Okay, do it. But, I pretty much cannot physically get from point A to point B unless I crawl on the ground.
Yeah.
and that's pretty much how I get around in the house if I'm not in my wheelchair. And I mean, when my son was born and I had to move him around, and my ex is actually I don't want to say biological father because he's not even that. He was the sperm donor.
Yeah.
Um, and so he was no help whatsoever. So what I ended up having to do to get my son from room to room and stuff like that was I would put him on a blanket and I would drag the blanket on the floor with me
Wow.
and get him around. And, I did get some good advice from my mom about it because I was like, God, this is going to be horrible for him. His mom's weird, and she just said, Shannon, this is your first time being a mom. It's also his first time being a baby.
Hmm.
He's not going to know any different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, we went through that recently. My son was, kind of confused to figure out that not everyone's moms had wheels.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
But, it. So there's, I can't go out and just get a job. You
Right.
know, uh, people are like, well, you can get a desk job, but you could be a desk. But my hands physically don't work well enough for me to type, at any quick pace or anything like that. So really, I don't have much out there
Right.
as an option. So this is kind of it. This is what I'm trying to do with my life because I have a passion for it. And if you can find a way to get paid to do what you love, do it.
Yes. No, no, I mean, I get it. And the thing about it is that this is these social support. I mean, I was talking to another girl recently, and she was saying she's got a child and she's a nurse, and she's working at one of the healthcare centers that we have. And she was saying, she's like, God, I calculated it out, and I would make more money if I sat at home on welfare all day.
Yep.
So the government is actually encouraging that because they're creating a system
Well, yeah,
where
they create this pretty much, a slave race that
yeah,
will vote for them.
totally.
They dole out the money, and those people will keep voting for the people who dole out the money.
Totally. No, totally. They will literally defend the state because the state the Romans had Panamid circuses. It's the same thing. You get your bread and you get your circus. You get your entertainment, you get your handout.
Yep.
And the people who really, actually it was interesting. There's a book called Spiral Dynamics, and it was very, very controversial in academia, and it's turned into like more of a corporate type system, which is a shame because they've diluted it a lot so they could sell it. But the originator of the book, I think it's called, his name is Don Beck, but I think there was another guy who actually wrote the first book. This lecture was kind of changed my life. There was like a 1.5 hour lecture on this thing called Spiral Dynamics, and I was invited when I was like 21 or 22. And they placed societies on a spiral kind of evolution. So like at the very bottom, it's like tribal systems, and then you work your way up into like feudal systems and agrarian systems and voting type systems. At the top, there's this kind of idyllic social democracy where everybody who's able-bodied works as hard as they can and takes care of other people in society, right? And so it creates these systems, and different cultures are somewhere on the spiral. And so he was talking about a case in point where when you have societies interact with each other, depending on where they're at on their spiral, like their mentality, you see different outcomes. And so this was banned in the academia because it was considered to be racist, which is interesting because it's really more culturalist than anything, not really racist.
Right.
But they were talking about how in Sweden was like when it was they were talking about how homogeneous cultures are able to very quickly ascend in the spiral because since everybody feels a commonality with each other, like, and they're all like part of the same structure, they all maybe look similar or whatever, nationalistic, they feel like they should take care of each other, and they also they feel like as part of their society they should work really hard to take care of other people. So if you're able-bodied, you work, and if you're not, then you're cared for, right? So Sweden had a system that was approaching kind of the top of the spiral, and then when people from other places, I think notably like it was Turkey and a few other places in the Middle East, started moving into Sweden. They got there, and Sweden had excellent social services because it was designed to take care of their own people. So it's like taking care of the elderly and people who are truly sick and disabled and all that. People from other cultures came in and went, oh, this is great. I'm not even going to work. I'll just get on the Swedish social dole and then I'll sit around all day, right? And they're having this problem in Europe because they had developed all these great social systems in Europe, but then people move in and take advantage of it. So
Right.
he was talking about how on the spiral, I'm like paraphrasing from what I can remember from 10 years ago, but basically the culture starts to devolve because then the Swedish people started cutting their own social programs because they couldn't afford them to pay for these people, and then there was resentment that these people came in from the outside into their culture and were benefiting from the hard work that all these people had done for years.
Right,
So,
and destroying, pretty much what should be there to take care of them.
right. And the point of the spiral was not like that these people were lesser, it was just a way to classify how societies work. So you classify how people in different cultures, like whether they see it as, oh, I want to take from society or I want to give to society. So the more people that see society as I want to give to society, the more successful it is. And the more it kind of ascends its own, into its own, it's really progress. I mean, you could put a human being on the same spiral, and, when you're born, you're dependent and you're helpless and people have to care for you. And then hopefully as you psychologically progress as a human being, you start to think, okay, what can I give to others? How can I
Right.
provide to the world? And a lot of human beings are not at the top of that spiral. A lot of human beings are in the world going, what can I take?
Right.
So
what can you do for me?
Right.
And actually, that's really hard for me because I'm a very independent person, and for me to be so physically dependent on someone else, it drives me absolutely batshit because it's like, people have accused me of being lazy, and it's like, if I were lazy, would I spend 3 hours insisting that no one helps me? I clean this whole room, I clean the house, and what takes me 3 hours would take someone else probably 20 minutes.
Right.
And, I'm not exaggerating that. That's really true.
Right.
But I want to do it, and I want to do it myself. And it's like, stop trying to help me. I know I'm hurting myself. I know I'm wearing myself out. But God damn it, let me do it.
Right. Well, I mean, if you wanted to, you could easily sit around in despondence, wishing that you had a different lot in life. And you know what? People would forgive you of that. Like, you could choose to not be on streams, and
But the thing is, I wouldn't forgive myself.
Right. And that's, like even in Puerto Rico, I mean, the welfare state there is huge. A lot of people just sit around on welfare. And I think, it's a combination of like a personality thing. Like, I would go nuts. If I had to sit around on welfare all day, I would go absolutely insane. So when I was talking to that girl who was like, oh, it would make more sense for me to be on welfare, I went, wow, that's so interesting that people are seeing it that way. Because for me, I would feel totally useless. Like, I wouldn't know what to do all day. I mean, I guess I'd read a lot of books, but it's like you can only do that so much because I'm physically able-bodied, and I feel like I should be out doing things, and so and so it's a really interesting, like, I think if everybody's working to their own personal maximum capacity, everybody's is going to be different. Then that's the conversation we need to be having is, are we doing?
Yeah, you just saying people's personal maximum. I also want to point out the other direction. Like people will tell me, oh my gosh, how do you do it? And what how do you live? How do you function? What's it like? And it's like, well, what's it like for you to walk? What's it like for you to have hair? It's my normal.
Right.
And what I try to remind myself, and what gets me through my day, because I have to kind of psych myself up sometimes. I'm not complaining about my lot in life or whining about it or being all bore me,
right.
But we all have those days where it's like, God damn it, this sucks, So what gets me through is I might be going through, you know, my personal worst, and, you know, someone else is going through something so much worse.
Yeah.
And what I try to remind people is we can't, you know, compare. You know, like saying, you know, say breaking your leg is the worst pain you've ever felt. And then someone else has third-degree burns all over their body.
Right.
That's the worst pain they've ever felt. But they're equally at their worst, you know? You can't compare the two.
Right.
And so basically I try to, you know, that's what gets me going through my day is, you know, well, yeah, I have it bad, but it's just as bad as everyone else's worst. You
Right.
know, it's just as bad as the worst that they feel, you know. So I
Right.
don't feel like I'm any worse off than anyone else.
Right, right. Well, and that's, this is why you're such an exceptional person, because you are unwilling to um, cower to your circumstances. And this is exactly why you have spoken out on this, because, yeah, I mean, I'm very privileged. I mean, I was raised working class. I was not given money for college. Like, I'm not from a privileged class, but fuck, I've always had food on the table. I've always had a place to live, one way or the other. So I'm part of the privileged cast of the world compared
Right.
to people that I've met, that I've personally met from places that like literally don't have that. And so I have a real frustration with people who I know are just as privileged or more privileged than me, who are not doing a damn thing. They're not doing anything with it. Like I feel like we should all be like, everyone's like, oh, well, you're not doing shit as a porn actress. Well, I have plans. I'm doing other shit. People just don't know about it because I don't want to fuck up those plans. but but there's a
Well,
reason
also,
I
you
do
know, you
porn.
don't go around tooting your horn like, well, I helped an old lady across the street the other day. You know,
Yeah,
like there's a thing. There's being humble. You know, you don't have to advertise. Hey, look at me! I did something good.
right, right.
You
Well,
know.
I mean, I think that I don't think anybody should um, diminish the work that they do, but I think that we should all be responsible. That's all. I just want people to be responsible. Like, I'm responsible for my life. I'm responsible for doing porn. I'm responsible for why right now I'm doing what I'm doing and not other things. We all have our cross to bear. I was talking to somebody the other day who was truly raised privileged. Truly privileged. Trust fund, millions of dollars, completely privileged. And that person is literally spending their time partying. That's it. They're just partying. They're having fun, but they're partying. And I go, wow, God, if I had that much money at my disposal, like, I can only imagine all the cool things I could do for other people. So I look at the world and I go, how can I acquire more to help? Like, I want everybody to have opportunity. I'm such a fucking bleeding heart libertarian. I'm awful being a libertarian. But because I know what's possible when you have just a little bit of help, especially because I didn't always have a little bit of help,
Oh
and
yeah.
so I know how that little bit of encouragement or money or whatever it is can kind of.
Oh no, trust me, I totally understand that. Like, and it's sometimes it gets hard to do that kind of stuff, you know, and give someone else the leg up, you know, like, okay, example of me getting burned by somebody. My dad passed away 5 years ago this October,
I'm sorry.
and you know, that was really really hard.
Yeah.
Um, but when he passed away, I got, you know, some life insurance money, and I mean, it wasn't, you know, like $1 million or anything, but it, you know, it was a good chunk of change. It was more than I'd ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And someone who I thought was my friend came to me, and mind you, I was screwed up emotionally at that point, you know, and she had lost custody of her child because she had gone into Job Corps
Okay.
um, and had signed custody away to her. I think they're still married, and that was years ago. but the father's parents had signed custody over to them.
Okay.
And then, she got out of Job Corps, whatever, and they didn't want to give custody back because, she wasn't Mother of the Year or anything. She was kind of an awful person. So, and they were out in Vegas, and she was here in Ohio. So she came to me and asked me for a loan to hire a lawyer out in Vegas to get her daughter back. And I ended up loaning her $3,100 to get her daughter back because she came to me, crying mother to mother, how would you feel if you didn't have your child?
Yeah.
And I totally fell for it. I gave her the money. She got her daughter back, which I'm happy she did, I guess. I mean, I don't know if her daughter's in the best place now.
Yeah.
Because it turns out she was on a lot of drugs that I didn't know about. But, I gave her all this money. Well, I didn't give it to her. I loaned it to her. Yeah. And then she totally cut off friendship with me after years and started going around telling people that I was a horrible parent and that I was abusive to my son and neglectful, which, okay, let's talk about projection. I didn't sign over custody of my kid to someone else, did I?
Right.
But, she told everyone that the $3,100 was a gift. And I'm sorry, you don't give someone that kind of money, and I know I'm never going to see it again, but it's when you go through something like that, it's hard to remain compassionate.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to maintain your humanity.
Right.
So I'm still the type of person that would give you the shirt off my back. Yes, you can think of me without my shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same way. I'm definitely a bleeding heart, even though I'm a conservative and people think we're all evil, angry old white men. So
well,
that are very rich. So.
Well, conservative just means cautious, really, and I think that.
Oh, I know, but politically conservative, everyone thinks you're a Republican.
Oh yeah, but it's a misunderstanding of these words. It's like I've had a lot of friends who have misunderstood that because I'm compassionate, they think they can take advantage, and I've been taken advantage of a few times in my life, but recently somebody tried it with me again, and I'm like, I'm so insulted by that. I'm so insulted when I will do what I can to help somebody, but when they lie to me about circumstances, like, look, I mean, it's really a shame because it's a lack of responsibility, and I think that's. We should probably close up the stream because it's 11 my time, which means like 1 your time, but
it's 2.
Oh, shoot. It is late your time.
It is late o'clock.
It is late o'clock. Well, we'll just wrap up on that note. It's all, I don't think any of us are advocating cruelty. We're all advocating personal responsibility.
Yes.
That's it. That's simple.
Definitely.
I have just so enjoyed this time. I hope we get to do this again. You're an amazing woman, and I feel very, very blessed to have gotten to know you and to have had the pleasure to be able to speak with you for 2 hours.
You have definitely been inspirational to me. So that video that you said was so powerful, I would not have made if I hadn't talked to you. So, you're definitely an inspiration to me, and I just want to thank you for everything you've done for me as well. And I want to thank everyone who was watching and will watch this when it's on YouTube and all that good stuff. And just Gamergate kicks ass. I love all the people I've met, including you. So, yeah.
Well, thanks. And it's so interesting to hear you say that, because before I got involved in Gamergate, I really didn't talk about a lot of stuff. Like, I didn't even know that you could YouTube stream. I mean, I was never on this.
Oh, I didn't either.
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's so, I mean, I feel really, like, it just goes to show that in life you never know who you're affecting by who you are, what you're doing in the world, and especially it can be frustrating because if you stand for something, you get a lot of criticism, and the criticism is usually the loudest. But when you get to talk to people who are really, on the same page, but also fighting for the same principles, it's just like it's so life affirming. And I feel like in talking to you, I mean, if I inspired your video in any little way, like I was blown away by it. So that's a real honor for me and a real privilege. And I just want to thank you. So, and I want to thank everybody who watched. I love all of you guys. I love, like, I was on set and everybody goes, God, you have the best, like, fans online. I'm like, I have the best friends online because you guys kick ass. Because it's not just porn fans. It's like we interact as human beings, and tons of people who are not porn fans but who are amazing people. And it's funny, the porn industry sees that, so I think they want to give a shout out to you guys too. And but I want to thank you. So we can find you where on Twitter?
It's at liberal_lunacy, and I'm on YouTube at youtube.com/liberallunacy, all one word.
Awesome. So you guys go subscribe to Shannon on YouTube at /liberallunacy, and you can find me on Twitter at the MercedesXXX, and you can, if you're watching it right now, you can probably subscribe. I'm still figuring out YouTube, so.
Yeah, and I'm going to be downloading this and then uploading it onto my YouTube as well. So.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks so much. Sleep well. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.